What's going on, everybody? Andres here again. What are we gonna be doing today? We're gonna be ranking Iron Maiden albums. I know, crazy. There's 16 of them, so this video will either be split into two parts or it will be a very long video. So, you know, sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, grab your siblings, come watch the video together. And yeah, let's get right into it. I don't think Iron Maiden needs too much introduction. They're one of the biggest and most amazing metal bands of all time. They have literally basically defined the sound of metal throughout the years. And on top of that, their live shows are insane. If you ever have the opportunity to go to watch an Iron Maiden live show, then I really recommend you do, because they're actually amazing. So let's get into the ranking. There's 16 albums, which ranking so many good albums is not an easy feat. I'll definitely say that. I'd say they have pretty much 5 albums that are basically interchangeable at the top 5, and the rest are really such minute differences, except for like 3 or 4 that, you know, really aren't on par. So for number 16, we're gonna have No Prayer for the Dying. I mean, was anyone expecting something else here? I'd say it's probably the most hated Iron Maiden album, but on top of that, it's also the worst. Well, I really don't think it's good at all. I guess we're just gonna go past 16, then we're gonna get into 15. 15 is gonna be Virtual X1, Virtual 11. I mean, does anyone care about this album really? I mean, there's what? The Klansman, and that's like the only good song in the album. And I'm not saying Paul Di'Anno is a bad, you know, singer, but he's just not as good as Bruce Dickinson. On number 14, we're gonna have The X Factor, or how I like to call it, Lord of the Flies, because it's literally the only song I can remember from that album. Super forgettable, not very good. It's just not on par with the rest of Iron Maiden's discography, in my opinion. Now we're getting into the real saucy stuff, because some people are gonna hate me for this ranking, while others might definitely agree with me. Number 13 is Dance of Death. I'm glad they didn't actually do the Dance of Death, because they almost killed their fucking career with this album. It's just not that good, man. I mean, Passchendaele's a good song, Rainmaker's a good song. It has a couple bangers in there. But in comparison to the rest of the ranking, holy shit, is it low. Number 12, we have The Final Frontier. Now, I will say you could possibly put Dance of Death on top of the next 2 albums, and I'd be perfectly fine with that ranking. They're like not the best Iron Maiden, but it's also not the worst. Like, you can listen. Actually, the first ever show I ever went to was The Final Frontier for Iron Maiden. Obviously, their live show was beautiful and amazing, but the album isn't. Yeah, so next up we have number 11, which is A Matter of Life and Death. I'll be real, I haven't really listened to this album as much as the rest of their discography. It has, you know, 2, 3, 4 good songs. The rest is just kind of meh. That whole period where Bruce Dickinson came back has maybe like 2 good albums, but I think that these other ones are just not as good. They're not on par with their older stuff, in my opinion. Now, before we get into the top 10, I would like to take a little break to actually thank you all for being in the video. Remind you that you can subscribe, that you can comment, you can like, and most importantly, this is my opinion. If you don't agree and you think the Dance of Death should maybe be number 1, that's perfectly fine. We are both humans, and it's totally understandable to have different tastes. I know, right? Don't get too riled up about it. Number 10. Fuck. Number 10 was a toss-up between 2 albums. I feel like these 2 albums are incredibly similar. Really where Iron Maiden starts to get really good in their discography. Number 10 is Killers. You know, it's kind of ironic, because you would think that their second album would be on top of their first, simply because of, you know, them evolving and being better musicians and stuff. But Killers just doesn't do it for me as much as Iron Maiden does, as they're self-titled. Iron Maiden is gonna be number 9. I'd say those 2 are kind of interchangeable if you wanted to. Now, going into the opposite end of their discography now, we're gonna have Book of Souls at number 8. Book of Souls is a very polarizing album. Arguably their most polarizing album, because they have so many long songs. I mean, I really like it. I feel like it's kind of mid-Maiden, so that's why it's on, like, spot on in the middle. The Red and the Black is probably one of their best songs they've ever released. Empire of the Clouds, I'll say, is kind of boring in my opinion. It's just But then the rest of the album, like the shorter songs, are just so fucking good. They hit you with the fastest pace they've had in 10 years, and that makes for a great album because you have a really good balance between really fast-paced things and, you know, not so much. So number 7, we're gonna have Fear of the Dark. I know a lot of people don't like this album. Fear of the Dark, I'd say, is probably like worse Peace of Mind, if you know what I mean. I feel like it has 4 really good songs and the rest of the album is just kind of mids, and that's why it's a little bit above Book of Souls, because I think, again, Book of Souls is just kind of Maiden, while Fear of the Dark is a little bit above that. So now for number 6, we're gonna have Peace of Mind. Before you click the dislike button, I will say these next 6 albums are all above a 9, and 2 of them are 10 out of 10 for me. But Peace of Mind is a 9 easy. It's a really easy 9, because the 4 songs that are amazing in it are actually amazing. They're like literally groundbreaking for the time that they were released in. Honestly, you have to have listened to Peace of Mind to consider yourself an Iron Maiden fan. Like, I guess you could say it's like average Maiden, as in like it's the average or like the standard to which they put like their entire song discography, or like their entire discography in general. I'm good at English. Alright, I'm back. I grabbed the banana. We're getting right into the top 5. I feel like this video is not going to be as long as I expected. We kind of just flew by the number, like 16 through 6. Number 5 through 1 are interchangeable, mostly. Number 5 is going to be Number of the Beast. Again, before you click the dislike button. Now, Number of the Beast has their biggest song, and it has Run to the Hills. Realistically, this album is almost perfect. Keyword there is almost. I will say it does have one of my favorite songs by them, which is Hallowed Be Thy Name. But I just think that The Prisoner is not a good song. I mean, I don't like it. I really don't like it. I've tried so hard for so long to like that song, and I always end up skipping The Prisoner. I just don't feel like it's on par with the rest of the album. And then you end the album with Hallowed Be Thy Name, which is the best closer they have. Somewhere in Time is on number 4, but I think it could be perfectly put on the top 3, and I'd be totally fine with that. Yeah, Somewhere in Time is arguably the epitome of that side of Maiden. They're really trying really hard to make like the storytelling be the main the main importance in this album. You have like this songs like Alexander the Great or Deja Vu or something like Sea of Madness. You know, all these songs like are really meshed together really well, and the album has a very unique sound, which is something that I'll give Maiden. Like most of their albums have very unique sounds. But I feel like Somewhere in Time just is as close to a perfect album as you can get. Alright, now we're getting into the big boy stuff. The top 3. Talk about comebacks. Brave New World is number 3. It is such an absolutely amazing album. It is impressive how good this album is. I just can't get over it. I mean, and I will say maybe there's like some emotional charge to my ranking of this album, along with Somewhere in Time, because I feel like these 2 albums kind of took me out of a rut emotionally and stuff like that. So you have The Wicker Man, banger. Ghost of the Navigator, such a banger, such a banger. Brave New World, again, such a banger. Blood Brothers, beautiful song. Literally bangers the whole way through. Is it weird to call Iron Maiden songs a bop? Whatever, it's my ranking, fuck you. Why am I so toxic? Either way, Brave New World is number 3. You guys will know, like, by process of elimination, at the top 2 we have Power Slave and we have Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I feel like Power Slave is literally just that era of Maiden's best ever. It's their best drumming, it's their best guitar lines, it's their best soloing, their best choruses. That's why it's at number 2. That's why I have it at number 2. There's literally not one song that I skip when I listen to this album, and every single song in this album literally became a classic. It's actually insane how many consecutively good songs and consistently powerful choruses. And then let's talk about Rime of the Ancient Mariner for a second. I mean, I told you that Hallowed Be Thy Name was my favorite closer. I'd say this is pretty close behind. When you go see them live, they're gonna play Power Slave, they're gonna play Aces High, they're going to play 2 Minutes to Midnight. I've seen them play Rime of the Ancient Mariner, right? So you have 4 songs that they're most definitely gonna play. Rime of the Ancient Mariner obviously not being as sure. And I think no other album really has anything like this. Maybe other than Number of the Beast. Now, I know what you're thinking. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son above Power Slave. Think of it this way. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is literally Iron Maiden's Power Slave with prog. Most of the songs are longer in this album and they're like more proggy and like storytelly, but that really works. Without this album, they wouldn't be who they are today, because if you look at their modern discography, it's all about telling stories, and this is where they started. And this is the album right after Somewhere in Time, which I was talking about being a really good storytelling album. It's just like if they said, you know what, we need to have better drums, better guitars, better singing, better choruses, better songwriting, and they do. They really do. So much so that you can listen to this album the whole way through and you won't get tired, and everything is so fresh. Everything feels like it's in the right place. I get chills when I listen to this album, man. It's really, really insanely good. I mean, talking about title tracks, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is just the best. I mean, this album is perfect. Really, the reason I have this one on top is because the first song I ever saw live by Iron Maiden was Moonchild, and I didn't really know what it was, and literally dug through their entire discography when I was 13 trying to look for that song, and I came across this album and I was hooked from then on. That's gonna do it for the ranking. So your prayers have been answered. I've ranked Iron Maiden. I'm probably gonna do Metallica soon. I have a bunch of ideas for the future of the channel, so if you're interested in, you know, keeping up with what I'm doing and like helping me out in some way, then you can definitely subscribe. You can go down in the comments, tell me what you think. If you hated my ranking, then go ahead and let me know. So yeah, that's gonna do it. that's gonna do it for today. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching. Stay metal.